in just a little bit, but we are continuing to follow everything election 2020. I'm your host, Mike Page. It's setting up to be a very, very busy day. It looks like we are going to be getting some updates coming out of Michigan and Georgia in the next couple of moments. So I have really previews on both of those events coming up here in just moments. Hi to everyone here on News Now from Fox, as we always bring you these live events as they are happening worldwide, and these are going to be some big events coming out of Georgia and Michigan. Let's show you the look right now where we are awaiting from the NAACP in Michigan. It was a wild night in Michigan yesterday in a specific county in Detroit there as a certification update. For a moment last night, they would not certify the election in that county, and then hours later, reversing course here, and we're going to give you the update on why that all happened. This was coming out of Michigan's Wayne County certification, the deadlock leading to a unanimous certification after allegations of racism happened here. So it was a wild and crazy night. Let's break it all down for you right here on News Now from Fox. Jenna Ellis, a senior legal advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign, told Fox News at night yesterday that the two Republicans on Michigan's Wayne County Board of Canvassers involved in a brief deadlock in the county's election certification process faced threats and allegations of racism before they agreed to certify the ballots. Their decision to side with their Democratic colleagues was dramatic and viewed by conservatives on social media as just a laydown after a brutal 2-hour public pressure campaign. Ellis told Shannon Bream, the host of the show, that she received reports that these two board members correctly spotted discrepancies, and she said that the ballot counts in 71% of the county's precincts do not match voter rolls. That's significant, she said, and that doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should be concerned about that. Kayleigh McEnany, Trump's White House press secretary, announced earlier on Twitter that there were 234 pages of sworn affidavits that raised allegations of fraud in the county. Also tweeting out was the GOP Michigan Senate candidate James, saying that I applaud the Wayne County Board of Canvassers for their bravery in the face of unbelievable pressure to ignore inconvenient truths that threaten our democracy. William Hartman and Monica Palmer, the canvassers, had been praised by fellow Republicans. John James, the Republican Senate candidate from the state who is black, said he applauded them for their bravery in the face of unbelievable pressure to ignore inconvenient truths that threaten our democracy. Laura Cox, the Michigan Republican Party chairwoman, also said in a statement that there appeared to be enough evidence of potential voter fraud that was uncovered. That is according to the Detroit Free Press. The deadlock even caught the attention of President Trump, who tweeted, "Wow, Michigan just refused to certify the election results. Having courage is a beautiful thing. The USA stands proud." But then everything changed later in the evening. Critics said that the decision not to certify these votes was a direct affront on minority communities. Ned Stabler, the chief executive of Techtown, who according to the New York Times is a poll challenger at the TCF Center in the city, said in a viral Zoom meeting, the Trump stain, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. He said the two would, quote, forever be known in southeastern Michigan as two racists who did something so unprecedented that they disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of black voters in the city of Detroit. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the state's Democrat, said in an earlier statement, in refusing to approve the results of the election in Wayne County, the two Republican members of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers have placed partisan politics above their legal duty to certify the election results. Palmer said poll books in certain precincts in Detroit, a majority black city, were out of balance. Jonathan Kinlock, a Democrat on the panel, said the discrepancies were the result of, quote, human error, and called it reckless and irresponsible not to certify the results there. So we will be waiting for this update in Wayne County from the NAACP. They will be talking about how they felt if this was not certified, they felt that their members would be disenfranchised from voting. There was some huge voter problems that they were seeing that from those two Republican canvassers who did not want to certify early on, but then had to change their minds after mounting pressure was mounted, as we just reported that for you here. I'm your host, Mike Page. Welcome everyone here to News Now as we continue to always follow these big breaking news, and we will be waiting on Michigan here in just moments. Stay right here with us, but I got more updates. This one from Georgia that we want to get to here really quickly, as Georgia once again is, well, they have a couple of counties where they keep finding votes here. So we're going to get to that here in just moments here on News Now from Fox, everybody. The Georgia election audit finds 3,039 more uncounted ballots in two counties. More than 3,000 uncounted ballots turned up in Georgia as the state is conducting an audit of the 2020 presidential election. As the hand tallying continues, officials in one county unearthed 2,700 ballots that had not been included in the original count. There was an issue where we noticed that there was more people on the absentee ballot filed for voting in person than there was actual reporting. Georgia election official said, according to Fox 5 Atlanta, it was discovered today for certain because of the audit we found this. And an additional 284 ballots were found in Walton County. The local board of elections chair Lori Wood told the Walton Tribune that the problem was due to votes being previously uploaded from only one of the two ballot scanners in the precinct. Quote, "We have discovered it," Wood said. "Maybe not this week, but we would have discovered it." The Walton County ballots boosted President Trump's lead in the heavily Republican county by 176 votes. The recent findings followed the discovery of more than 2,600 ballots in Floyd County. That had not been counted at the time. Floyd County Republican Party Chair Luke Martin called the mishap, quote, "concerning," but insisted that it doesn't appear to be a widespread issue. Unless additional uncounted ballots are found during the audit, it does not appear that the audit will result in a change in the state's election result, as President-elect Joe Biden had been leading by approximately 14,000 votes. Sterling said that the updated count in those counties trimmed the lead to just under 13,000. If the audit were to end up with Trump winning the state, he would still only have 248 electoral votes, with Biden remaining at 290 there. But as we have been saying, there are other states obviously still being legally challenged, including Pennsylvania. And, a lot of President Trump supporters are saying, well, if they're finding these problems in just two counties in one state, what about all the other counties in other states there as well? How are they finding these uncounted votes here? They, you know the saying, every count votes, but it's looking like every counted vote counts. So that is going to be something moving forward as they continue to investigate these discrepancies in multiple states here. So we will be keeping an eye on that, just like I will be keeping an eye, everyone, for you in Michigan, as now we are just moments away. We are going to see just how they are going to be talking about this. The end of we have the state-by-state breakdown, so let's give that to you right here on News Now from Fox here. Yesterday was Florida, November 18th. Today we have on deck here Idaho, Missouri, and South Carolina. Now November 20th is a big one because that's Georgia and North Dakota. November 23rd. We have Kentucky, Maine, and Utah. November 24th, Washington, D.C., Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota, New Mexico, North Carolina. November 25th, Alabama, Alaska. November 28th, Arkansas. November 30th, we have Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Montana, Nebraska. December 1st, we have Kansas, Nevada. December 2nd, New Hampshire. December 3rd, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oregon, Washington, West Virginia. December 4th, Illinois. December 5th, California. December 6th, Texas. December 7th, New York, December 8th, Maryland and New Jersey, and December 13th, a big one, Michigan right here, as that continues to be challenged right here. We will be continuing to wait for this shot right here on News Now from Fox. I do want to go to this report coming up from our sister station, Fox 11 in Los Angeles. As we heard over the weekend, the governor there, Gavin Newsom, he was in some hot water as he was caught at a dinner party with a lot of people breaking his own rules that he has put forward in the state. Here's the latest report there as now we have the photos.
Well, Bill Mallusion joining us in the studio with the story. Bill.
Yeah, guys, we were sent these photos late tonight by a woman who was actually at the French Laundry restaurant the exact same night that Governor Newsom was. Now those photos that she took are raising some new questions about the governor's claims that the dinner was outdoors, as he has repeatedly claimed. Take a look.
Tonight, a Fox 11 exclusive. We've obtained this photo of Governor Gavin Newsom dining at the luxurious French Laundry restaurant in Napa the evening of November 6th. It was a birthday dinner party for Newsom's close friend, Jason Kinney, a well-known lobbyist.
I just happened to look over and realize, hey, is that Gavin Newsom? Who is that? And I did ask one of the waitresses, and she confirmed it was.
We spoke with a woman who happened to be at the restaurant the same night, and she snapped these photos. She asked us not to identify her. When the governor issued his apology on Monday, he described the dinner as outdoors.
It was in Napa, which was in the orange status, relatively loose compared to some other counties. It was to be an outdoor restaurant.
But the photo appears to show the dinner being mostly indoors, with sliding glass doors opened up for air. The woman we spoke with says at one point those doors were closed because of noise complaints about the group.
It got louder and louder, and so they had some sliding glass doors that they were able to close. So then it was just a closed off room, but you could still hear them. That's how loud they were.
She says the scene was hypocritical.
It was a very large group of people and shoulder to shoulder. Something that he's always telling us not to do. So, yeah, it was a bit annoying, for sure.
A spokesperson for Jason Kinney told us, quote, the guests and the restaurant followed all applicable state and county public health guidance. The guests specifically required outdoor seating, and that's outdoor seating, as confirmed and provided by the restaurant, end quote. The spokesperson also sent us a photo from Town and Country magazine describing that same area as outdoor seating. Regardless, the governor says he just shouldn't have been there in the first place.
As soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated. And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house. The spirit of what I'm preaching all the time was contradicted, and I got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you because I need to preach and practice, not just preach and not practice. And I've done my best to do that. We're all human. We all fall short sometimes.
And literally just a few minutes ago, right before this newscast, the governor's team did get back to us. They referred us to his previous apology, and they said they don't want to comment on the specific substance of our story tonight. Remember, on Monday, the governor said he's going to learn from his mistake. He admitted that he fears he might have lost some of his moral authority because of all this, and people might start tuning him out on his COVID precautions because of his actions. Guys?
Yeah, all right, that was the update there in California. Thanks to our sister station there, Fox 11, for giving us that update. No words yet on how Gavin Newsom will be celebrating Thanksgiving with his family, and will it be just his immediate family or others? We'll be waiting to hear more results. And voting updates there in Georgia. Let's bring that to you here on News Now from Fox.
That's why they go through the quality control to make sure there aren't transposition errors, extra zero errors, missing a batch, counting a batch twice, all things that happen when you do the hand tallying like this. So this is why you don't really go into the interim results, because they're not real until you get to the end of the process. So that's one out of the gate. Then we have another issue where an election day card was discovered through this process. This is in Douglas County this time. It was an election day precinct, Lutheran 739, and the results of that were there were on that ballot or on that card 128 votes for President Trump, 156 votes for former Vice President Biden, 7 votes for Joe Jorgensen, and 2 undervotes where they did not cast a vote for president at all. So with that, it was a net gain for former Vice President Biden of 28, which takes our running tally now and puts at the margin at 12,781. So that's where we stand right now. We still consider ourselves to be on a good pace right now for completing the audit in the scheduled time we have set, which is midnight tonight, and giving us enough time to go through the final certification process for the election, which we know is required to be done by Friday, so we get the UACAVA and military and overseas ballots out the door on Saturday. So that's basically where we stand right now. We have the teams from Voting Works and our elections directors around the state continuing to work. We've got 112 counties now that are at single digits or better. A lot of them are 0, 58 are at 0 deviations from the ballot count. And we have 13 counties that just happen in the teens, like 12, 11, then through potentially 19, either positive or negative. So those are very close. They're doing the last bits of quality control on those. In some of the larger counties, they have more tally sheets to go through, so they're having to go through that process right now. So places like Cobb and Gwinnett, and DeKalb and Fulton and Chatham, the places you'd expect, are going to take a little bit longer today. That's why we're glad they got a lot of their actual physical counting done early to give us the time to do good quality control and make sure that we have an audit that we can all rely on and look at and say, yes, this is the outcome, and we anticipate it to remain this way. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the questions that we've been doing it before. You can raise your hand, and Walter will be able to call you out, and then we'll try to go one by one and answer everybody's questions. So who we got first, Walter? Walter, who do we have first? You're muted if you're trying to talk.
We have Archith.
Okay, Archith, what do you got?
Hey, good morning. Real quick, President Trump has tweeted a few times between the last 12 hours saying the Georgia recount quote is a joke. It's being done under protest. Even though thousands of fraudulent votes have been found, the real number is mismatching. He's asking the governor to take action. What do you want to say to the president and people who are perhaps unhappy with what is happening in Georgia, according to at least what the president has been tweeting?
The main thing is we're continuing to follow the law and continue to follow our processes. And the irony of this is saying fraudulent votes have been found, he has gained in the finding of those votes. So the system's working the way it's intended. And the frustrating situation overall, essentially in the United States right now, if this was 14,000 votes the other way, I believe Biden supporters would be screaming that this was all inappropriate and not done correctly. A lot of this started with the situation we had with Stacey Abrams 2 years ago, still refusing to concede even though she was down by 55,000 votes, well fewer votes than this. But if they have a legitimate claim, legitimate evidence, they can file a suit for it. Medical review process is done in this country. That is where they have the right to do that. So if Walter Jones, they have that, I believe that they should be able to, do that in the future. And Walter, can you mute yourself for a moment, please? So it's frustrating, but we're going to continue to follow the law and follow the processes.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix that. It's not the same link as yesterday.
Walter, you need to mute yourself when you're on the phone if you can, please. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. So we'll see who's next.
Mark Nisi.
Okay.
Good morning. Can you please go through, it seems like 4 counties now where they have found errors in the initial count, I believe Douglas, Walton, Floyd, and Fayette. It seems like Douglas, Walton, and Fayette were memory cards that went missing, and Floyd was a different issue perhaps, although I remember on Monday it was initially thought that it was a memory card. I just wanted to get clarity on what happened in each of those counties, especially Floyd, just so we can be clear.
In Floyd, if you watch the WSB coverage and Justin Gray's reports from last night, and there's another reporter, and I'm blanking on his name right now because he was live there, and I apologize. They had a scanner go down with a log mismatch error on October 24th. So at that point, they could not get the ballots that had been scanned onto that scanner. They could not get the results off of those memory cards. So they box those up, replace that scanner with another scanner. And the intent was to take those 2,700 or so ballots and scan them on the central ICC scanner at their headquarters in Rome. So it was transported to the elections office in Rome, and apparently no one ever scanned them. And that was a pretty big problem because there would have been no way to know, because the tabulator was never created in the election management system before then, to know that they had been missing at all. But because we have this process, they had the paper ballots there. They knew that they were there. So they were able to get them scanned and done, but it was a big managerial problem to not have scanned those ballots in, to create that card, to know the tabulator was there, to put into the election management system. The other three, they should have done reconciliation better, and that's obviously a process we're going to have to really look strongly into now. And the thought is, in past elections, this wasn't as important because you're just pressing those buttons in for the memory cards. And in the old EMS, it was a very obnoxious way of showing that you didn't have all your memory cards in. If it was green, you had accounted for the memory card. If it was red, you had not accounted for the memory card. Now, it would have allowed you to go past that, but they've been really trained hard on that one. In the cases we see now in our new election management system, there is a checkbox, but it's not as nearly visually obnoxious as the old way of doing it. So we're going to look at ways to really hammer home you need to be a reconciliation. And one of the other issues we found is that people are not getting the credit for voting in fast enough, which is something we've been very focused on, because that is causing confusion in the system, and then you don't have a good reconciliation ability unless you're really staying on top of that. So those are the things we've kind of seen. But again, let's keep it in perspective. There's 159 counties. We found 4 that had this issue, and it would show up through this hand audit, and that's what's happening. So that's how we're tracking some of this stuff down. And as we said, every day since Tuesday, fast is great. We love fast. Accurate is more important. And this process is showing us that we can get to that level of accuracy. What we want to make sure is in the future that our elections directors do all their processes on the front end, so we're not chasing these things down after the fact.
And just to follow up, the memory card issue anyway, that should have been caught before the audit and recount even began, correct?
Absolutely. That's what they did. They did not execute the reconciliation processes properly, and they didn't recognize the reporting inside their new EMS. But let's be clear on one thing about this. This is a new system. These people are operating in it under the highest level of stress in the most contentious election in their work life in the United States and in Georgia. So for the most part, they are doing a really good job on this for most elections directors. As I've said repeatedly, the human beings involved in this process are the most flawed part of this. So we have to keep in mind a lot of people are learning this for the first time in a large scale way. And in Floyd County, they had an issue where their director had COVID, and then their number 2 person on election day fell and broke their hip. So they're down to like their number 3 person. So these things are going to happen. This is the real world sometimes you got to deal with. Who's next? Walter?
Westbrook.
Okay.
Hi, Gabe. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Just if everyone has reported all of their numbers by, before midnight tonight, when can we expect the Secretary of State to report out the official results of the recount?
We're going to follow our normal process, review each county results, make sure they line up with our paperwork and our intel, and then we'll move to the next course, which is the statewide certification. We have until Friday. I don't know an exact time yet because we don't know when everybody will have everything lined up yet. Our plan is to do it as soon as we've checked all of our boxes, crossed our T's, and dotted our I's. Who's next, Walter?
Alexa Course.
Hey, Gabriel, 2 quick questions. For the 112 counties with deviations in single digits or fewer, that includes the 58 with none. And then secondly, what was the number of votes that were found in Walton?
In Walton, where do I have that written down? I think it was 284, and the difference was President Trump picked up 176 of those. I'll try to get you the exact details on that. We'll get it out after the call. We'll do a quick email message to everybody.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Hi, Gabe.
Hey.
Real quick, I know that as of about 8 o'clock this morning, there were 10 counties that still had not certified. When do we expect them to certify, and what happens if they don't certify before you guys?
I think this is just more of an issue of they're overwhelmed and they're trying to get to everything. Our liaisons have been calling everybody to make sure they get certified, the final certified version into our election night reporting system before midnight tonight. But some of these are smaller, less resourced counties, and they only have so many people to do so many things.
But what
But
happens?
they'll get done, and then we will certify, because until they put their stuff in there, we can't certify.
Okay, thanks.
Brad Shred. Brad Shred.
Brad, are you?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Great. Yesterday you talked about the investigations in Fulton County and elsewhere. Can you go through how many investigations have been launched since Election Day, what they're looking at, and sort of give an accounting of where they are?
No, there's too many. We still get them coming in our emails and through our portal. We go through a triage process first to see what is there a thing that we can pursue? Is this a real complaint? I had one filed against me because I gave information on one of these press calls. That's not a real thing to investigate. So I can't give you a straight amount of answers on that right now because there's a lot of them and they're all kinds of different things. They're campaigning within 150 feet. They are, not following procedures to close down properly, as we've seen in some of these counties. We're going to absolutely have to investigate that. Floyd County, that's going to be investigated. We will probably put together an inventory of all the investigations and kind of lay them out for you. But right now, we're so busy drinking water from a fire hose of investigations that we're letting the investigators do their job. So I wish I could give you a more thorough answer on that. I just don't have one right now. We'll try to follow up and give a good accounting of what we're investigating.
Yeah, could the office do that? Could you guys provide that? Are we talking dozens? Are we talking more than 100? You said you have 24 investigators. Are they overwhelmed with these complaints coming in? Can you sort of give some?
Well, we have to triage them as they come in because we accept everything on face value that it's a real thing. And let's see, is there a way to evidence on this? Is there a way we can give people a sign of those? And if they affect more voters, they would essentially move to the top of the list. Francis Watson, our chief investigator, gave me a list, but this was last week. We can probably update that and figure out a way to get you some good information to give you a basic scale of what we're looking at. So I know.
I'll follow up with Walter. Okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, ABC News Desk.
Hi, this is Paula. Thanks, Gabe. You may have talked about this at the beginning. I feel like I came in while you were in the middle of speaking, but the stuff going on with DeKalb County and the Georgia GOP party submitting a letter asking for an investigation. Obviously, the state is certifying based off of the initial machine count. This was an error that they're claiming occurred during the hand recount. Can you talk about what's going on there and what the state needs to do or is going to do? It seems like the ballots were recounted and the issue was corrected, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then I have a follow-up, but I'll let you answer that first.
You did miss the early part of it. We did address this, but I'll do it again, so you have it for your recording. Chairman Schaefer, who's been a friend for over 31 years, we got their affidavit on this. We were aware of this on Sunday. This is what happens in an audit. This is why you don't release interim audit results, because human beings are going to make mistakes in a hand count audit. So the error was discovered. It was corrected. It would have been discovered and corrected even without the monitor there to have pointed it out, because we have quality control measures that our audit consultants go through on each one of these tally sheets to make sure you didn't transpose a number, you didn't add a zero, you didn't miss a batch. I mean, all those kind of things go into an audit. So this was a non-event, non-issue kind of thing, but it does help stir the pot to a degree, which is unfortunate because, and this is why you don't release interim audit results, because it can be confusing for people from the outside looking in. But that's why we put the quality control measures in to make sure that everything lines up and has a logical rationale behind as to what the issues may or may not be. If you're off by 3 votes, It doesn't mean there's anything untoward. It just means, maybe a scanner caught 2 absentee ballots that went through at one time, and that's why you're over. Or maybe somebody had a stack of 11 or a stack of 9 or a stack of 10. That's going to happen when you have human beings doing this. So again, this is a misunderstanding of how an audit works. We appreciate both the Republicans and Democrats having monitors there to assure the process is flowing properly. That's why we're trying to be transparent. That's why we've had people videotape these and live streaming them. And we've seen the processes move very smoothly around the state. And we're happy with the outcome so far. And we anticipate hitting our mark of midnight tonight to finish the audit. And your follow-up. You're muted. I'm still muted. Walter, do we?
Yeah, she may not have one. The next is M. Walker.
Hi, Gabe.
Hey.
You were up early, so you must be tired. Just a few quick follow-ups with Walton County. Was that a memory card issue, or was it ballots like Floyd where they just had them off to the side?
It was a memory card. They discovered, they counted the ballots and realized they hadn't uploaded the memory card. And when they hand counted them, they saw that they were missing that.
Okay, and 112 counties is it 112 that have completely finished everything, the hand counting and the uploading?
No, not necessarily. The 112 are ones that are single digits, and we've got some very diligent elections directors who are trying to get down to 0 because they all want to be at 0.
So is it still 78 that have completely finished everything?
Well, the 70 haven't completely finished either. They were the ones that are either at -1 or 1 or 0. So we're now to 58 that are at 0, and another, I didn't break it out. I think it's 20 that is down at 1 because somebody finally found the 1. They're going to continue to work until they're satisfied internally as they get closer to midnight that they have done all they can humanly do to get down to the narrowest margin as possible of being off on ballots if they're going to be off on them at all. So as we get closer to midnight, I anticipate people saying, you know what, it's 8 o'clock. I've done everything I can humanly do to count for these last couple of ballots, and some will get there and some will not. But again, this is about showing the overall system worked, not that it's exact, because human beings are going to come up with slightly different numbers because we can say that's what we can do at the hand audit.
Just to be precise then, how many counties have finished the hand count and uploaded to the state so that they can just go to bed tonight?
Well, I don't have an exact answer on that because in some cases they're reopening. They'll say they're completed on the ARLA system, but they'll go back and reopen if they find something. So it's hard for me to say right now. We have a lot of green on the board, but I know a lot of those elections records are still working, even though they've put completed in the ARLA system.
And this includes, Wes, can you mute, please? This includes Fulton and Gwinnett. They're still in the
They're still going. The big ones are still going. They're not done yet because there's a lot more tally sheets to go through to do that quality control that we're talking about before.
Okay.
And that included Chatham, Richmond, Muskogee, Bibb, Fulton, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Cobb, all the big ones you can think of.
And in terms of the tens of thousands who still have to finish the hand count, can you tell us which counties those are?
I think the largest ones may be